and then MS took over. And I think he was a mercurial generational talent as a leader. He would kind of get up to go, and then the security guys asked all the foreigners, which were not all the coaches, but some of the coaches, for their passports. And the news came back to say, sorry, we can't permit some of these coaches to come to the academy. It's a security breach. Oh. So Dhoni just stood up and said, well, we're cancelling the whole event. And it's like, if they can't come, we're not coming. Faisal, someone hasn't asked me that for a long time, eh? but I do. You're funny. I just have such an affection for Indian cricket. I really do. And
thank you so much for this.
No problem.
Great. How was the trip? Was it good? You had a good time in Stockholm?
Yes, it was great, Faisal. It was nice to get to see cricket in Sweden, and the interest and the love for the game. So I enjoyed it. Yeah, it was a good week.
Yeah, I've been talking to Russell. We should take it to the whole Nordic region, because Poland is very interested now, and also Norway. So we can slowly create a nice little ecosystem in the Nordic region of Europe. That would be fantastic, because the feedback has been great from the parents and the children. So Naga has been talking to them, and they were like, when is Gary coming next? That was the question.
That's fantastic, Faisal. Yeah, I mean, I had a good chat with Naga at the end, and he was kind of, there's a couple of things that we wanted to fine tune to make it better. But in the end, I think it was a good experience. Our coaches loved it. I enjoyed it, and we could definitely look at doing further gigs like that.
Lovely. That looks good. Okay, so Gary, I'll do a small little introduction, and then I'll start off. I'm going to first ask you about, I can't start the interview without asking you about South Africa's great World Cup Test Championship win. So you have to react to that. That's the first one, and then we'll get to the coaching bit, because I'm dying to know what you think about it. And, because I was in tears when it happened. So I just want to know what your emotions were. Yeah, so I'm going to start with that once I introduce you.
Fantastic.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Hello and welcome to a very special episode of Sports and Pastime. We have a very, very special guest today, a man all of India loves and is thankful for helping us win the 2011 World Cup. Legendary batsman from South Africa, one of the finest coaches in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, Gary Kirsten. Thank you, Gary. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Faisal. Thanks for having me.
Well, Gary, I have so much to ask you about coaching, about your experiences, but I'm going to first talk about that one win that has meant so much to the world of cricket, to Test cricket, and to South Africa. So, firstly, congratulations on the great World Test Championship win for South Africa. What did it mean to you, and what do you think it means for South African people to be able to win that after so many close misses, and having had such great players, great runs, but never being able to get the silverware?
I think a relief more than anything else, to be honest with you. Although we have won the Mace before, that was in 2011, but 2012, I think. Sorry, and but this was a final. It was kind of what would be a knockout, isn't it, in a World Cup event? So I think from a South African cricket context, massive. But I think for me personally, more just a 100 Test match veteran to kind of see us play such good Test match cricket in a one-off game against the best opposition that's out there. I think that was particularly exciting for me to watch. I haven't watched much Test cricket, to be honest with you, Faisal. So to be there present at the game and watching ball by ball, I was blown away by Aiden Markram's century. I watched every ball of that, and it was most enjoyable, to be honest with you, to see one of our players in such control of his game, and against some of the best bowlers in the world. So it was great to be present and just to be part of what was a fantastic experience for South African cricket.
Right. And, as a coach, someone who's worked with captains, a word on the captain of South Africa who made all this happen, the way he rallied his troops together. A word on Bavuma.
Yeah, inspirational in many ways. I mean, you would know that we have had a very successful rugby team, the Springboks, and that's led
Yeah.
by um, a inspirational black captain in Sia Kolisi. And there's always been a lot of talk around the Springbok rugby team, but just for a moment in time and for once, a change of sports, and we could celebrate a black captain, which is massive again in the context of our country, rallying his troops together to bring success for everyone that loves the game of cricket. And the one thing I love about sport is that sport doesn't it doesn't divide people. It actually brings people together. So it doesn't matter from what part of the world you are from, you know, if you're struggling in life or if things are going well for you, when we all come together in the name of sport, we seem to join as one, and there's a common language that we all share and we join. And I think that's the amazing thing about sports. So it was wonderful to have our summer national sport in South Africa, kind of receiving a bit of the hype and everyone rallying behind them, it was great to see.
Truly was great for Test cricket, and also the numbers look very good. The broadcasters are smiling all the way to the bank because a lot of people watched it. The numbers are phenomenal on digital as well as on television. So that's great for Test cricket. But having spoken about that, Gary, I want to really start talking to you about coaching and what a wonderful career you've had as a coach after a phenomenal career as an opening batsman for South Africa. But tell me a little bit about Coach Ed, and I find it very interesting that you've started something where you're coaching coaches and preparing them to, uh, improve the games of cricketers around the world. Tell us a little bit about that and your recent stint in Sweden.
Yeah, well, I guess for me, Faisal, it's probably moving into a third phase of my working career. I was a player for 17 years professionally. I've been on the road as a team coach now for the last, I don't know, 20 odd years. And
Wow.
I'm particularly passionate about coach education. I think a quality coach can make such a difference on a young person's career, and equally, a bad coach can have such a detrimental effect on a young player's career. So I love the idea of coaches becoming more skilled in their work. I love the fact that they would embrace learning and looking at ways of doing things um, that are appropriate to, the modern generation of people. When I was a youngster growing up, the only way I could learn was through sitting in change rooms and listening to ex players and older players who are still playing the game, learning from them and how to play. But these days, a young 15-year-old can go onto YouTube and download anything that he wants to download and learn as much about the
Yeah.
technique of playing the cover drive as I know. So it requires a different style of coaching, I think, in many ways, a different way of communicating with people. And that's why coach education is so dear to me. So it was about 5 years ago we built 4 courses on the CoachEd platform, coachedcricket.com. And the intention was to give access to coach education for many who wouldn't be able to get it. The school teacher who's coaching his under 14B cricket team probably doesn't have access to get a level 3 or anywhere in the world. So the opportunity to be able to go online and do a course with a quality body of work, and know that he can get some skills that he didn't have, I think is really important to us. I also believe, certainly in the testimonials that we've got from the many coaches that have now completed these courses, they have always the common denominator is, I didn't know that. I didn't know that that's the way you've got to talk to people. I didn't know that that's how you should run a team meeting. I didn't know those drills in fielding, and it's this access to knowledge which I'm so passionate about, because I think a lot of people out there who love the game of cricket, they want to coach, but they don't necessarily know how to coach effectively, and that was the intention of the founding of CoachEd 5 years ago.
Right. So, Gary, how difficult is it to be coaching across cultures? I mean, you played for South Africa, you coached the Indian team, you coached South Africa, and of course, recently Pakistan. How difficult is that playing and leading and coaching across cultures?
I don't think it's overly difficult. The reason being is that cricket's a common language, so we can always come and have a conversation around the game of cricket. And even when we kind of transcending languages, there's words that just come out that are the same. So I think that's a beauty of it, is that when we talk cricket, generally you understanding people, not always that well, but you are. And then I think secondly is when you do have language difficulties and barriers, there's always ways and means that you can get a message across. But let's be honest, Faisal, if I'm delivering a team talk and I'm angry about the way we didn't play to our values on the field or didn't try hard enough, I can talk in any language. The players are going to get me through my body language. So you can cover a lot of bases in cricket communication across the different cultures. I think the biggest challenge in working across cultures is just understanding how they think and how they look at the game, and also how they respond to leadership. And that's something that I've spent a lot of time trying to understand better. For example, the South Africans probably enjoy a lot of collaborative kind of leadership style where they want to feel like a part of the bigger picture. Whereas I found when I was with some of the Indian teams in the IPL, they wanted a more top-down leadership style where tell us what to do and we'll go do it. And so I think as you become more experienced as a coach, you learn about those things and you learn how to manage people in the different cultures based on what their needs are.
Correct. Correct. And tell me, what is the difference for you between managing cricketers and leading them? How is the approach different, or is it very similar?
Well, I do think man management is a crucial component to coaching, if not the most important component. And how do you get the best out of a group of people with a common purpose and vision and moving in the same direction? I've had a lot of chats to current IPL champion coach Andy Flower around this. So it's just understanding how you take a group of people from a lot of different walks of life and get them to find a common purpose. And in these short form tournaments and in the leagues around the world, that can be quite a challenge because you're there for 6-7 weeks. How do you pull this team together? When you're coaching a country, there's a natural motivation. It's a big thing to be representing your country, and there I think one's leadership style is how do you create an environment for the natural motivation that these players already have in representing their country, but to create a high performance environment. In other words, their behaviors on a daily basis would depict a high performance space. The way they practice, the way they prepare for matches, the way they look after themselves off the field. You create this high performance environment around them. So I'm always fascinated to see in the different places that I've coached, what does this group of players need for them to thrive? And I found that from a leadership perspective can be quite different, and you asked the question around management and leadership, but for me, it's kind of one of the same. Yes, you have to lead, you have to direct the paths of a group of people to say, this is the best for all of us. And I think that's where your leadership component comes in. And then your management is on a daily basis. Are you checking in with your players on a daily basis to make sure not only as individuals, but as a team, we're moving in the same direction?
So was that the philosophy you used when you took over the Indian team and, seeing how they'd come off the previous World Cup and all that had happened before? It was amazing the way you turned it around and actually were able to optimize and get the best out of every cricketer. How did you pull that off with Team India in 2011?
Well, Faisal, the one thing that we can't discount is that I inherited a really good cricket team, with MS Dhoni as the new captain. Anil Kumble was actually the captain when I started, but then he retired shortly
Right.
afterwards. And then MS took over, and I think he was a mercurial generational talent as a leader. He just did things that people wanted to follow. And so from that perspective, it was incredible working with him. And I think we built a good relationship. It took us a while, but eventually we kind of built a really good leadership relationship. And I'll never forget, it was in our preparation for the World Cup where we wanted to head down to the Bangalore Air Force Academy to go do some training. and all the players were pretty excited by it, and we kind of get up to go, and then the security guys asked all the foreigners, which were not all the coaches, but some of the coaches, for their passports. And the news came back to say, sorry, we can't permit some of these coaches to come to the academy. It's a security breach.
Oh,
So Dhoni just stood up and said, well, we're cancelling the whole event. And it's like, if they can't come, we're not coming. And that was a great
wow.
indication of where we were as a team at that time. We were kind of all in, coaches and players. We got on really well with one another. If anything, I think we created a very happy environment and space. We enjoyed each other's company. We had a great respect for each other in terms of how we behaved on and off the field. We didn't always win. In fact, we lost a one-day series just before the World Cup, and we managed ourselves really well in that space. And I think there was massive trust in the environment, and through that we were able to overcome adversity, which we had, but we were also able to really thrive with a lot of those players playing some of the best cricket that they'd played in their lives. I mean, let's not forget the great Sachin Tendulkar was battling a little bit in his career before
Yeah.
2007. He wasn't sure where he was going. He wasn't that happy. And between 2008 and 2011, he got 18 international hundreds. So that's a lot of runs in 3 years. A lot of hundreds. And Gautam Gambhir was a number one ranked test player in the world. Zaire Khan was a number one ranked bowler in the world at one point. Verinder Sehwag was banging out 300s and doing some incredible things. So there was a lot of guys playing really good cricket during that period. And, once we were flying in formation, it was, that was the biggest challenge, just to get everyone to fly in formation, really.
Yeah. In fact, one image that really is stuck in our head is that warm embrace between you and Yuvraj Singh after the World Cup win, and the great story that we discovered later that he was suffering from cancer through the World Cup. Tell me, how was it with somebody like that who, you really, really have to manage well, and then you have the superstars like Sachin Tendulkar that you're managing. How does one balance that in a team and still manage to lead and hold your own?
I think every one of those players was a leader in their own right. It was just, how can you express your leadership, and I think we were able to create an environment where, people felt not scared to talk and talk up and share, and I think that was these are senior players we're dealing with. So that opportunity was really important. Sachin, from the moment that I'm really got to know him well, he was all in about the team. He wanted the team to have success. He'd had a lot of success in his own right anyway. And Yuvraj for me was, I was always very fond of Yuvraj. We had this kind of, we had this great relationship where, he used to frustrate the hell out of me sometimes, but I just, I loved him. I just thought he was just this guy's so good, man. He's so good. I just want him to be scoring runs all the time, because when I watch him bat, it's just amazing to watch, and but there was a journey he had to walk, and he, credit to Paddy. Paddy actually did a lot of work with UV to get him ready for that World Cup, and UV himself, he made some key decisions around getting himself prepared and ready for the World Cup. Thank goodness we picked him, because it was flipping close. He was not a slam dunk selection. The selectors kind of debated it quite a bit, around the 15 players.
Wow.
But I was very keen to have him in the team, as was MS, just because of the experience that he brought to the group. And look at the World
Right.
Cup he ended up having.
Right. That's so true. So what's your formula for creating a winning culture within a team? What are your non-negotiables when you're putting a team together?
Faisal, I think you've got to work out a way that we can all, or not all of us, but most of us can thrive in the environment. I say most of us because I don't think everyone will. But for
Correct.
me, my kind of life's work as a leader stroke coach is to set up environments that allow for a lot of people to be thriving and succeeding. Now, sometimes you try to do that and you don't get it right. And that's happened to me on a number of occasions. But when you do get it right, you see people being able to express their skills and their talents at its optimum. And when that's happening, when you get a guy who should be in the top 3 bowlers in the world delivering on that, it gets very exciting because then everyone becomes a leader in their own right. So, I think the key to our World Cup success in 2011 was we probably had, I would say, 7, maybe even 8 of the 11 guys that played in that World Cup final that could make a match-winning contribution in the match, in a final. They had the experience, they had the skills, and they could single-handedly turn the World Cup around. And I think when you've got a group of players where you've got your critical mass up enough, where you know that even if you are 35 for 3, you can still chase down 280. Because you know that your 5 and 6 are as good as your 1, 2, and 3, or you know that your number 7 batsman can make a massive difference in the outcome of a game, or you know that your 5th bowler, which is what we had in UV, he actually ended up becoming our 5th bowler in a way because he did so well. Actually a 6th bowler, but he actually became a 5th bowler. But he, when you have that in your team and you have that depth of performance, then I think you've produced a great team. But that doesn't happen overnight. That takes time. It takes continuity in selection. It takes backing players when they're not playing that well, and you move away from crisis management. And always something that I've fought long and hard with selectors and administrators is, you've backed me to run this team. Let me build some continuity in the program. But you always get thrown curveballs and crisis management decisions. And I've seen this in IPL flat out. It's just like you lose 2 games and let's change the whole thing here, and it drives me mad, to be honest with you, because, you're trying to back players and believe in them, but then, other people want to just move them on and let's get to the next guy. And I don't like coaching that way.
Right. And you've had that same problem with the Pakistan team also recently, where you weren't able to run it the way you'd like it to. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, listen, I really enjoyed working with the players. It was a very short period of time, and I kind of, cricketers are cricketers, Faisal, wherever you are in the world. They're good guys, they're good people, they
True.
want to do well in cricket. There's a lot to learn with each guy. Some take longer than others to understand them and how to get the best out of them. I was with the team for 6 games, and it's not a lot by any stretch, but I was really motivated to get back into an international team again. I just thought it would be so cool to get involved in an international environment. But if you've got
Mhm.
massive outside interference, it's never going to work, because if the team's not winning, there's always crisis management that comes into place. So, there was lots of interference, and we had to chop and change. And but eventually, I think the straw that broke the camel's back was when they said to me, you're not involved in selection anymore, and my job's to shape a team and to help it be a match-winning team. And if one of the key components to that you're not involved in, then I'm afraid I didn't sign up for that. So time to move on.
Why is that so important, Gary? Because I've covered cricket and I've seen that there's always been a problem between selectors and the board not wanting to give a seat or a vote to the coach. Why do you think that's so important? Why can't the team that's given to a coach, the coach take it and make the best of what it is? Because sometimes there could be a confusion because you're so close to some players, and then that could cloud your mind as a selector. What are your thoughts on that? I've never really had a clear idea of that.
Well, I think that where selectors, what role they should play is they should give me 20 players. They should be allowed to select the top 20 players, because they have access to the domestic environment and they know exactly what the 20 players are. But once those 20 players are selected, they must then make a decision. Okay, these are the 20 players in white ball cricket that you can use for the next 6 months until we find someone new. But these are the guys you can work with. So you can choose whoever you want between these 20 players. And then it's
Okay.
up to the coach and the captain. We had that, Donny and I had that. We picked 15 in our squad on a tour, every tour, and I didn't speak to the selectors after that. It was just Donny and I selected the team. And, World Cup final, Donny, myself, and a couple of senior players, we selected our final 11. And
Wow.
that's the best way. That's the best way it works, because when coaches are working one-on-one with players and building relationships and spending time developing their skills, to then have someone from the outside come in and say, sorry, you can't pick him anymore, is not fair on the coach. I mean, in the end, the coach is the one that's going to get fired if the team's not doing well. So why can't I have
That's
control
true.
over the team that I pick?
That's
So
true. That's true. That makes sense.
I found that there's always a lot of complication with that. So I've always said, my belief is, selectors, give me 20 in the squad because you've seen the broader picture here, and I'll come back to you in 6 months' time and saying, is there anyone else that you think should be part of the squad, or is there anyone
Right.
that we should consider leaving out? And we'll have a conversation once every 6 months.
That's interesting. Tell me, Gary, how do you approach, or what's your approach to dealing with conflict within a team? Give us an example to understand how you navigated through those difficult situations.
Um, yeah, I mean, listen, conflict in a team environment's like conflict in an office space, in a corporate environment. It's no different. It needs to be well managed, and everyone has a different style or method. I prefer not to share personal examples because I don't want to compromise any individual. But what I can tell you is, you get a variety of different experiences. You'll have one player, that it's quite easy when you leave him out of a team, and he just says, no, I understand, and as long as you are accurate in your reasoning, I think every player is generally can handle it. But you will always get the occasion where a player doesn't agree with a decision that you make, whether it's a practice that you wanted to call that he wants to have a rest,
True.
whether it's a guy being left out of a team, whether it's communication that you've heard between a senior and a junior player that's detrimental to the junior player. There's always stuff going on, so you're not immune to conflict. But I think if managed well, you can kind of get through a lot of it. There are always issues along the way. There are always people that think about themselves largely, and they think, well, that doesn't suit me, or that doesn't work for me. But you, as a leader, you've got to make a decision for the better of the team. And also, as a leader, I think the one thing that I've learned is I might not get all the decisions right. I might,
True.
but I've got to stand for what I believe in. So I learned quite early in my coaching career that the most important thing is not whether the decision's right or wrong. The most important thing is you make a decision. And I think most people will accept that, whether right or wrong. I don't think I had huge conflicting moments across my coaching journey. I've had one or two, and those one or two, we still to this day disagree on the decision that was made. But that's fine. That's life, and you kind of move on with it. And the one thing that's important to me is that if there is a conflict in one way or another, if it's to the detriment of what we stand for as a group of people, as a team, then I'm going to hold my ground. I'll be flexible in most other things. In other words, if you've got a view on why you should be in the team and you're not being picked, I can accept that. But if you are disagreeing on a value, like punctuality in getting to a training practice, and you pushing back on that, then I'm going to push back hard. And as a leader, I'm going to stand my. So there's certain non-negotiables around how you operate, but I think with conflict, you've got to be as accurate as possible and be to the point as possible.
Correct. Gary, you see this new Indian team now, with Rohit and Rohit gone, Ashwin gone, and now Virat Kohli gone from the Test team, and you see these youngsters battling it out there in England. Tell me, do you ever feel like you'd want to come back and take this new bunch of youngsters and start again and recreate the magic that you did with culminated in the 2011 World Cup final win?
Faisal, someone hasn't asked me that for a long time, eh? but but I do. Yeah, funny. I just have such an affection for Indian cricket. I really do. And if someone did say to me, would you consider having another go at it? I definitely wouldn't say no straight out. Although I have moved on, but I do have a deep affection for the Indian players, Indian cricket, and the Indian players. I mean, it's been really good to my life. you know, since 2011, I've had a lot of privilege out of leading the 2011 Indian team, and the experiences I've had since then, the leadership journeys I've been on across corporate India, actually.